Hello, welcome to PEMF Pulse for Life live webinar. Thanks for taking the time to watch this webinar and learn a little bit about PEMF. I'm going to just go through a quick PowerPoint. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our company, my story, where we're going as a company, just the basics on PEMF, our equipment, some differences between other equipment and ours, what some of the practitioners are doing with our machines. We can look a little bit at the business side toward the end, and we're just going to show you how PEMF can make your health or your practice way better. I just want to welcome you to the PowerPoint here. Our PowerPoint is just going to kind of go slide by slide. I'm going to just take some notes. If you want to write some notes down and shoot me an email at the end, my email will be at the end of the information, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. The first slide there is my son and I. He's going to be 6 in December, so he started kindergarten this year. And this machine has allowed me to really spend a lot of time with my son. He is the reason why I get up and do all this, but more importantly, it's the people that I'm helping. This machine has changed my life completely. There were days where I could barely get out of the car with sciatic nerve pain. I have a burning nerve pain in my scapula when I first bought this machine. That's how I got turned on to this equipment. And the pain was 24 hours a day. You know, this was something that was being treated by chiropractors, by doctors, injections, things like that. And I had tried a lot of stuff and nothing seemed to work. I ran into this machine in Las Vegas at a chiropractic conference. I was selling there and selling some therapeutic mattresses, and the booth across from me had these machines here. And the machine, you know, I put it on and it was firing my arm and making my scapula jump, and it was going right to the spot that hurt. And I thought that was weird that the machine knew where my pain was. And sure enough, I did 9 minutes on Friday, 9 minutes on a Saturday, 9 minutes on a Sunday, and my pain was gone that Sunday evening. And I gave my card to Jim McBride, our owner of the company, and I said, hey, if this sticks, let's touch base. And a month later, we touched base, and I had to get involved. I've been doing this full time now for several years, and my job in the company is to travel to different medical conferences and set up booths and demonstrate and educate doctors on what this technology can do for them in their practices. Once they buy a machine, I get the opportunity to go to their office and actually set up the equipment, train all their staff, and implement it right into their practice so that their patients are benefiting and the practice is benefiting financially right away. There's nothing worse than a doctor buying new modality and then it sits in the box for 3 weeks and doesn't get implemented. So I really like going out and meeting all the staff and your patients and really just getting involved with you and your staff and your patients. This slide here is just some pictures of, you know, my booth at some of these conferences and you know, the way people set up in their rooms, and some doctors trying the machines. And that's the bottom left picture is a training I did here in Southern California, and we had a good time. I think we had 24 patients show up that day, and we just had a great time. The staff felt really confident when I left that day, and that's a good memory of that day at training. So let's go ahead and start the seminar. So how does it work? Magnetic field is a natural energy on the earth, and it is you know, used all around us. Magnetic fields are everywhere, and there's good ones and there's bad ones, and we're going to talk about that later. But how do we create a magnetic field? Sometimes people think of magnets as just like a magnet that you stick on the refrigerator, and you know, those are static magnets. What we're talking about here is magnetic fields that are generated by a current spinning in a circle. On this picture here, the Earth shows the magma spinning around our core, and that spin of metal
creates a current, and we get a north pole and a south pole. The magnetic field is constant. It's constantly sending this energy through the core of our planet, and it creates a north and a south pole. So you can see that, our north pole and south pole is, a magnetic field that is generated, and it's natural. We are standing in a magnetic field right now all the time, anywhere between 300 and 700 Gauss. And we'll talk about how we measure magnetic field later, but 300 to 700 Gauss on anywhere on the planet is what we can just go outside and stand on. And that's a static magnet, nice static field of magnet. And we're going to talk about static magnets and pulsing magnets in a sec. So magnetic field on our planet, this picture shows our Earth's magnetic field around our planet, and then the sun's rays of the sun coming at our planet. And you can see how the magnetic field protects our planet and makes that space wind, that's all those dangerous rays from the sun literally just wrap around our planet and go around. Without magnetic field, our Earth could not survive. And the funny thing is without magnetic field, our cells can't survive. And early cosmonauts that were going up into space learned that the hard way when they were coming back really sick. They were too far away from the planet. The magnetic field was not allowing their cells to metabolize, and they were coming back very sick, actually losing bone density. So one of the great things is we actually use magnetic fields to get their bone density back, and we'll talk about that later. So the Aurora Borealis is, I've never had a chance to go up and actually see it, but, we can see this type of our magnetic field working for us if we see this in the sky. I mean, we can actually see our magnetic field protecting us, okay? So I'm going to show you how we can see our magnetic fields that we can create, help protect ourselves and repair ourselves also, okay? So a world without magnetic field could be devastating. Our magnetic field, if it were to collapse, instant, devastation to the Earth. Same with not getting enough magnetic field or a lack of magnetic field can cause havoc to our cells. So we definitely want to make sure that our magnetic field is all around us, and if we have to, we can supplement it with the devices we're going to talk about. So how do we measure magnetic field? It's very confusing because when you start researching PEMF devices, different machines are going to have different measurements. They're going to tell you that, theirs does, 0.5 Tesla, and some do 1 Tesla, and some do 2 Tesla, and some do 500 Gauss, and some do 10,000 Gauss. Well, it's very important that you, when you're doing your research, you kind of look at the measurement and see what it equals to, and then put them all in one measurement. I like to talk Gauss. Gauss just makes it easy. So anytime I see any other measurement on other machines, I translate it to Gauss, and that gives me the differences in strengths of different types of machines out there. Some companies are very, adamant about their Gauss and their measurements, and they publish them all over their websites, and some don't. It's very hard to figure out what machines are actually pulsing. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So just to give you an example, the Earth's strength is anywhere from 300 to 700 Gauss we talked about, or 250 to 650 Gauss. And you can see the yellow parts of the Earth are a stronger field. The equator, the blue, is a weaker field. But all these different measurements mean exactly the same thing. So 2.5 to 6.5 millitesla is the same as 250 to 650 Gauss. So just giving you an example of how things can get confusing when you start doing research on this. So what we can do is we can actually spin electricity to create a magnetic field. And these two pictures are pictures of wire that are just like our attachments on our machine that we run a current through. We spin the electricity and a magnetic field is created. Okay, so this kind of gives you the direction of the magnetic field. We know that magnetic field, it affects electrons. We don't really know what magnetic field is made of. Some people say they do, some people say they don't. I don't know. I haven't really found anything concrete, but we know that it does affect the electrons, and that's what's important. This picture shows electrons in a laser traveling through very sporadically in all different directions, going into the body. It's a cold laser, whatever. When you add a magnetic field, the electrons will actually follow a magnetic field, the line of the magnetic field. So those of you with cold lasers, it can be very beneficial to do PEMF and magnetic field at the same time, because the electrons will actually follow a magnetic field. So we can talk about that. You can shoot me an email. I'll tell you more about that. But more importantly, we want to make sure that we know that magnetic fields are changing the way electrons act, okay, or improving. So how do electrons play a role in the cell? Basically, it is several cycles in our system. We have a Krebs cycle, different things that take electrons and turn them into ATP. Okay, when you have ATP in the body, ATP abundance in the body where it can be stored in the mitochondria, it's like having backup power in our cells, and charge to the cell membrane is also very important, which we'll talk about also. But an abundance of ATP in the body allows the body to have power to do everything it needs to. Power is crucial in your car, in your house, at work, any kind of power. When that when the power is on shortage or low anywhere, things don't run properly or they can come to a stop. Okay, so just remember ATP is the power. Okay, so what can signal a cell to do a function? When you look at a cell, the cell membrane has this receptor. This picture shows that kind of light blue receptor at the cell membrane. And there's 1 million of those on every single cell, okay? And our body will send proteins, amino acids, enzymes, all these different things to hit these receptors. And the receptor then gets the message, transduction occurs, and we get a response from the nucleus. So it's pretty simple to communicate with our nucleus of the cell to do a job, and our body does it with natural things. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how PEMF and frequencies can signal these receptors also. So if you have this receptor hit with an amino acid or an enzyme, the transduction that occurs is the communication inside the cell that then has to get to the nucleus. So we can do that with other things. And if we can hit that with a drug, like a narcotic drug or a vitamin or things that we eat or take or inject, then why can't we do it with energy? So PEMFs are a magnetic field that's kind of blasted into the body, and there's frequencies that are inside PEMFs. And these can also stimulate the cell receptor. So we don't necessarily have to use a drug or a vitamin or supplement of some sort to get the receptor to get that signal to the nucleus to do a job. So energy medicine is a way that we can get our cells to do work without having to take a supplement or a drug or different stimuluses to the receptor. So it's pretty amazing how much cellular activity happens when you add PEMF to a regimen in your practice. So Dr. Carmichael he wrote a book on PEMF, and it is literally probably the best book I've ever read on PEMF. The first 100 pages are just phenomenal, how he breaks it down at the cell level. And he does, he likes low power devices. He does promote one, I know for sure. And, but as far as just getting understanding of this technology, it's amazing. One of the big points he talks about is getting the PEMFs at frequencies that are inside our biological window. And what I mean by that is there's, you know, our bodies can only sense certain things. You know, there's the electromagnetic spectrum has tons of different types of energies in it, and light is what our eyes can pick up. And it's just a fraction of the entire electromagnetic field. That's what's in our biological window to pick up light. Then there's sound. There's certain sounds that humans can't hear. There's certain sounds that dogs can hear. So we need to be in a biological window of sound waves that come at us. But we also have to be at the right biological window with energy that comes into our body. So this book is a really expensive book. I don't know if it's out of print. I think, you know, I had to borrow it from a doctor buddy of mine. And, you know, it's really impressive. If you want to learn more about this book, shoot me an email. And I have a file on my computer that it's kind of a shared file, so maybe it would help you out, okay? So there's a couple of different types of PEMF systems out there, okay? One is called a ringer and one is called a hummer, okay? And the hummer devices are your low power devices. And what these devices do is basically send frequencies into your body using a PEMF, using pulse electromagnetic fields. So if they lie you on a therapy mat, these hummer devices, and they're spinning electricity and creating a magnetic field, a very light field, maybe 100 Gauss, maybe 200 Gauss, 300 and some, but 100 Gauss. And then what they do is they program in frequencies to shoot into your body. Some of them are programmed to match the Schumann frequency, the frequency of our Earth. Some are designed to follow the Chinese organ clock so that different frequencies get distributed through each organ in a 24-hour period on that clock. Well, they may have a program that does it in 30 minutes. So when you just shoot frequency alone at your body, it doesn't really go in very well. When you add a little bit of PEMF to it, it goes in much better. Now, when we were talking about those slides with the little receptor trying to get hit by a PEMF in a frequency, it's like throwing a key at a keyhole. So you got to throw a lot of keys before you hit the right receptor. So that's why these machines take such a long time to work. If you can use them every day, great. You may get some results in 6 to 9 months, okay? Because you're going to have to throw a lot of keys at those receptors to finally stimulate them for transduction to occur and the nucleus to respond with function. So ringers are a little bit different. A ringer is a high intensity PEMF, which also has frequencies inside, also programmed in, and it's more of a sledgehammer. This thing will just send a big blast through the cell, and it actually rings the cell membrane like a bell. So when it hits that cell membrane, the entire cell membrane resonates, not just one receptor. So now you have all the receptors resonating, transduction occurring, and the nucleus going to work. So it is a much faster way to get cell function to start or work with the body. So we can get results very, very quickly with a ringer device as opposed to a hummer device. You know, maybe we do need both. Maybe you go to the doctor and use a ringer. Maybe you have a hummer at the house. Fine. But in general, the ringers are going to do it much faster. And if you're an active, healthy individual, you just want to maintain your body, hummers are great. But if you have some things going on with your body that need attention quickly, I definitely recommend a ringer device to do so. So every receptor is stimulated with a ringer device, every single one. So all the transduction, all these responses from the cell. Let's take a look at what some of the responses are. So in Carmichael's book, he talks about all these different responses in the cell. And it's pretty amazing what some of the responses that are in there. We're talking repairing nerve and firing muscle and boosting immunity and circulation, bone healing, lots of stuff that is covered in PEMF. And if you Google PEMF plus anything in your body, whether it's bone or muscle, tendon, athletes, put PEMF next to it, and tons of stuff comes up. If you go to some of these study sites, that have medical studies, type in PEMF and type in an ailment and see what pops up. I have a 20-page report I can email you on tons of things that are responses to PEMF that explains how it works. So if you want that, remember, just take a note and email me at the end of this, and I'll send you this 20-page report on how this stuff works at the cell level, okay? So Carmichael talks about balancing the atomic nervous system. If you're a doctor or you have clients and you know that their nervous system is out of balance, that's probably throwing off most of the things in their body. If you are constantly in fight or flight mode, or constantly in this relaxation mode where you don't care, you have to have a balance in the body. And when you use this machine, and you can almost sense you're a much more balanced person after you get done. I have people who are really strung out that love to come use this machine. And then I have people who are really, really mellow. They come use it and they're nice and hyper for a little while. So it's pretty exciting when you see it happening with people, and then you read about it in Carmichael's book about how it's actually doing it. And it's pretty cool. So keep that in mind with your patients. When you get balance back to that nervous system, it's pretty exciting results. So Hummer devices are usually low Gauss. You may have seen Beamers and IMRSs and Curatrons, masses, some biofeedback machines like OnDemeds. They have very limited attachments. It's usually just a mat and maybe a ring or a coil that you can put on a spot. And they don't really address acute pain or increasing range of motion or repairing nerve or any kind of immediate relief. So in several months, you may get some results, but in general, the patient doesn't really feel much. And a lot of these devices I find in the closet. I've visited doctor's offices and people's homes that were looking into my machine, and we talk about the other devices, and they're like, oh yeah, I have this device, and they open up the closet, it's folded up inside the closet. So if you can't feel it, if you can't get immediate relief, people don't use it. Just in general, it's a tough sale when you're trying to run a business and deliver this energy to people. For people to pay for something, they really do need to feel and get some sort of results right away. A Ringer device is a high Gauss. It fluctuates the entire cell membrane, nudging communication to the nucleus. Nerve repair. This actually fires the nerve, okay? The pain signals that are going through the nervous system back to the brain are getting polarized. So people get done using the machine and they stand up and they're almost pain-free. It's amazing. Fluctuating scar tissue, okay? If you break up scar tissue, then you're gonna gain your range of motion. So a lot of old surgeries and things like that, they're just, knees are just full of scar tissue. 10, 12 sessions, breaking up scar tissue. People are bending their knee 100, 105% again. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. You can actually see the muscles firing. You feel it going through your lungs, your energy. If you are sensitive to energy, chakras and meridians and different things, you feel this going through your body. And people don't mind pain for something like that. That's why massage does so well, is because you can feel it and you feel a little better after. So it's worth $50, $60, $70, whatever it is. So a ringer device that you can feel, get immediate results, and people don't mind paying for these devices. So that's why they're much better in a clinical office than, say, a Hummer device. Always consider something that the patient can feel. So frequency of the body within the biological window, okay? The biological window of frequencies in hertz is between 1 and 50 hertz. Our bodies, our animals, rocks, trees, our stones, all these different things in our cells are between 1 and 50 hertz in general. It gets a little confusing because, there's sound frequencies, there's light frequencies, there's lots of different things. But between 1 and 50 hertz is safe, okay? And the earth frequencies, 783 or Schumann frequency, there's several devices out there that are blasting that through, and people seem to get a benefit of that. The 10 pulses per second, that's what NASA used to help with these cosmonauts' bone density, so that they can get their bone density back. That 10 pulses per second was the frequency that they were using. Harmonic frequencies are all the little tiny frequencies in between all these frequencies that are in healing energy medicine doctors' toolbox. So you could Google harmonic frequencies and see what I'm talking about with spark gap chambers and different things that blast out these frequencies. Rife, if you've ever followed Rife's work, all these frequencies that he specifically set for different ailments. The FDA didn't like that, but for him to put that out there and see people get results, you just have to look at it. You can't all just dismiss it. That was a lot of work that was put into it, and some people did get better. So, energy medicine and frequency is here, and more PEMF and frequency is coming into medicine. Right here in San Diego, they put a photon machine that targets and kills cancer cells. So they're using energy medicine in ways that they've never used before. And it's finally, usually with just diagnostics, MRIs and EKGs and things like that. But getting the energy into our biological window is what's going to give us the most benefit. We'll talk about a little bit more about our biological window in a sec. We're going to talk about cell membrane potential. This is the most important thing that I try to get doctors to understand about our machine. When you have a cell that is low in negative charge, okay, so if our cells are supposed to be between -70 and -90 millivolts, and our cells are at -50 or -40, that's where we see a lot of autoimmune disorders, fibro, cancer cells like to live in -30 millivolts or less. So there's a correlation between how the cell membrane is charged, enough negative charge, and a healthy person. So how do you get a cell membrane potential back to normal? You get it back by exercising. If you can go outside and run and sweat and jump and really breathe hard and actually exercise, enough of your sodium potassium pumps open and close and start to push out toxins, and nutrients get pushed in, and a lot of things happen when you exercise. That's why you feel better when you get down at the gym. Now, if you blow a knee, or if you are fighting some sort of disease, or you may not exercise as much. There's lots of reasons why people don't exercise. And now our cells don't get that cell membrane to open and close and push toxins out and get nutrients in. So it kind of gets clogged up. It gets clogged with toxins. It gets just in a funk, basically. So this charge starts to fall. And that's where our cells stop performing the way they're supposed to. So we don't feel well. And not everybody can just, get up. If you're fighting a migraine, you're not going to go exercise. So if you can lie somebody on a therapy mat that pulses a magnetic field through, and it stimulates exercise at the cell level to have these sodium potassium pumps open and close, you know what? We can probably push out some toxins, and that's what happens. So I have devices in integrative oncology offices, and before every IV, the patients come and use the machine, and then they go do their IVs. Now, why do they do that? Well, if we can get the cell membrane charge back to -70, -90 millivolts, and then they go take their medicine, guess what? The medicine can get into the cell. So we are basically allowing the body to breathe, the cells to breathe. And each time it pulses, you see the cell membrane just, all these holes just pop open and close and open and close. And those are your sodium potassium pumps. If you can get energy into the cell, we talked about ATP, we can get ATP to get produced, okay? So we have all this importance of getting power to the cell and getting the cell membrane to breathe to get our patients to feel better. If you only use nutrition, it's going to take a long time because they have to detox, get all the crud out if they can, and then they have to put the right nutrients in, and hopefully those sodium potassium pumps start pumping the way they're supposed to, and ATP production starts to occur. But what if we can jumpstart that immediately? And that's what the PMT 120 can do, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, we talked biological window. We're going to talk about the electromagnetic smog that everybody talks about, okay? Now, if you're going to be blasting magnetic fields into your body, are you blasting good ones in or bad ones in? We need to be careful there too. So let's talk about what electromagnetic smog is, the part of the energy that damages our cells, okay? So when you look at this diagram, you see the energy blasting up, and then it's blasting down under the negative plane, and then back up again, and then back under the negative plane. Now, if you are in the United States right now, our power grid is at 60 hertz, okay? So 60 hertz is not in our biological window. So when we have energy that we plug in and we run a fan or whatever we're using, and the top wave runs the fan, and then that bottom wave is the smog that gets blasted out into the room. And basically at 60 hertz, it's a energy coming at us that's not in our biological window, and it is damaging our cells. So we have tons of things that are plugged in our own home that are basically blasting frequencies at us that are not in our biological window. So that bottom wave is the electromagnetic smog. And in a magnetic pulse like our machine, the pulse doesn't look like that. That's just a standard sine wave. Imagine ours going straight up and straight down, and then back to zero, and then up again, okay? So when that happens, basically we eliminate the bottom wave. We get the good energy on the top spike, it goes back down to zero, right back to zero, and we don't let the smog come into our body. So we actually have only clean energy coming into our body with these devices. So if you get a dose of good clean energy into your body, it's going to help repair your cells. No matter what, we're getting a bad dose into our bodies because of everything else that's plugged in around us. So it is worth it to get a good dose every once in a while. And a big blast, and we'll talk about strengths in a minute. So if you could see electromagnetic smog or your Wi-Fi signal, you wouldn't go outside. You wouldn't sit in front of your cable box that emits the Wi-Fi signal. It is just crazy how many cell phones and Wi-Fi's and smart meters and cell phones, all these different things that are just at the wrong frequency blasting through our bodies every single day. So, you know, we don't get enough magnetic field because we don't live on dirt. We live on concrete foundations, and we sleep upstairs away from the earth most of the time. And we don't go on vacation as much because America works too hard. So we don't go out into the mountains and actually, you know, get close to earth like we're supposed to. And then you have all this stuff blasting into our bodies. And then you have all the toxins that we eat and breathe. So no wonder why our cell membranes get so blocked up and damaged. So we need a solution for people, and the solution is a good clean energy that can go into their body and help repair these things. Okay, so you know, just look at those frequencies coming into the body on Wi-Fi. I mean, you know, if you live in an apartment building and everybody has a Wi-Fi signal, and then the smart meter from the company, and then, I mean, it's awful. They have a little $30 meter you can buy on Amazon called a cell sensor, and you can actually go around your house and look for any electromagnetic smog around your bed. And if that thing goes off, you need to move the alarm clock or the air purifier or the plant timer water thing or whatever's plugged in around your bed. It could be totally just zapping your brain all night long. So, and you never want to sleep with your Wi-Fi signal on, and you never want to sleep with your cell phone next to your head. So it's pretty scary what kind of energies are in there, but because we can't see them, America doesn't pay attention to that stuff. So it's up to us to educate people that electromagnetic smog is real and people are getting sick. So, you know, let's give them a dose of good, clean energy and help with that. So not enough magnetic field, toxins all around us, EMF, smog everywhere, people are sick. So we really need to re-emphasize that, and just really it's a mission to really have something in your office that you can address that for them. So here are the devices. The PMT 120 is basically the machine that changed my life. It is a very powerful device. We're talking 20,000 Gauss, folks. That is just the tip of the iceberg, and that's 20,000 Gauss going all the way through your body. Some tests even show our machine going up to as high as 48,000 Gauss, because as you move away from the rings, the energy drops off very quickly. So to get 20,000 all the way through your body, we need to pulse much stronger. So these two devices are great. They're a portable device on wheels or an office model that you can put in the office, or you can tote around in the case. So these two units were changing people's lives, and we'll talk more about them. We have attachments for these devices, okay? Most other machines only have maybe 1 or 2 attachments. We have several attachments. Basically, large loop is for torso, butterfly loop is joint, the rope is extremity, the mats are entire body charging, okay, changing that cell membrane potential in every cell of the body on those mats. Then we have athletes that need to do range of motion. We have giant loops we can put our whole bodies into. We have people in wheelchairs that can't lie down, and we just drape a big giant lasso over them. We have doctors that are, podiatrists and seeing tons of feet every single day. So we have these cool yellow coils that they can just slide over a foot instead of having to wrap a foot, which takes time. So it speeds up their practice. So we have attachment to get the energy to every part of the body. As you go away from the torso, we need more magnetic field to feel the strength. So we need different types of loops that have more wire and a smaller circle to concentrate the field into the hands or into the feet. So that's why we have a lot of different attachments, so that we can get the right amount of intensity to any area of the body. And our therapy mats are basically, we have a large and a small. One's a zone mat. We can put it right on a low back or right on a head, or just do the spine or gut. And then the entire mat, our blue mat, is the big blue mat that you can lie down on and charge every cell of the body in a matter of minutes. And you do feel these things. They're very powerful mats that are going to make your muscles fire and your nerves fire. And there's no way you could really turn the machine up all the way, because the energy is very strong going through. So we're always comfortable when you're applying this magnetic field to somebody's body. We're always comfortable. We train you how to stay in the biological window of the patient. If the patient is grimacing, it's not in their biological window. Turn it down. If they don't feel it, turn it up. Okay. So we make it very simple. One knob, turn it up or turn it down. As you increase intensity, we automatically lower the frequency, so that you don't have the frequency too fast and the intensity too fast, and it shakes the cells too strong. So we automatically configure that so that it's comfortable for any patient. I have patients that are super sensitive, kids, babies that lie on the mats, and I am totally confident that it's safe and it's not hurting them. So, just want to let you know that we are always looking to get the right attachment to the right part of the body for the right person at the right intensities with the most comfort. Okay, that's why we have a lot of different attachments. So let's take a look at the blast of our machine. The double loop is on the left, the standard loop is on the right. And you can see that in Tesla, the highest spike on the large loop or the butterfly loop exceeds 3 or 4 Tesla. So when you start looking at Tesla, if the top spike is at 48,000 Gauss, okay? So for fractions of a second, that double butterfly is going right into the body and allowing 20,000 Gauss to go all the way through the body. Okay, so that's pretty impressive that we can get such a good jolt to go through the body and ring the cell membrane and stimulate those receptors. This is a spreadsheet. I went on to every other type of website I could find on PEMF machines. And I found some Hummer devices, I found some Ringer devices, and I'm not going to go through every single one. I can email you a copy of this if you like, but in Gauss, if you look down the intensity section, nobody compares in strength to what we're doing. We are basically we're a Ringer device, where it's like we're comparing apples to oranges with these different devices, because yes, they're all PEMF devices, but when you have a Ringer blasting that type of magnetic field, it is doing something different at the cell level than just stimulating receptors. We're resonating the entire cell membrane, okay? But not only that, we're firing nerve, we're firing muscle, we're depolarizing pain signals so the patient has an immediate result. As where these other guys they just don't have the intensity to do much except deliver a bunch of frequencies that may or may not hit the receptors. So there it is. I mean, you can go and research any website you like and write down all the different things, but this is what you're going to come, because I did the exact same thing. This is exactly what I did. Some companies don't put their strengths in. They don't want us to know what they're pulsing. They don't want us to know, and it's why. Why don't they want us to know? If you're following safety measures, you have to tell people what's going through their body. So it's important that you have a company that's in an FDA cleared facility making a device that is safe for people and for kids and for elderly. So you want to definitely take that into consideration when you're looking for a machine. So you don't want to buy a PMT 120 from anywhere else. There's some people out there that have had contracts to buy these machines over the years. Some of them are into selling lots of different other devices. Some of them are into lots of different modalities. So they just happen to sell our equipment. And when I say that, when you're going to spend a good chunk of money on a PMT 120, you want to have service behind it. You want to have the support from people that are selling these and training staff on what to do with these, and have the release forms and have the menus and have all the marketing tools that you're going to need so that you can implement this into your practice. And when we come out and we do an in-house training in your office, that's huge. There's nothing worse than buying equipment and then you come back from a conference, it gets delivered, and your staff says, oh gosh, the doctor went to a conference and bought another machine that we have to implement, and now they got to do more work, and they're not motivated, they don't understand the technology, and you don't have the time to train them. So that's what we do to help with all that. And it's very important that you buy from a company that's been doing this for years and getting in front of doctors and their staffs for the past 10 years. So revenues on this, this is what one of my doctors charges. I'm going to just kind of zoom in here so I can see. But basically, the $20 if you add on, let's say you're doing an adjustment or an IV or some sort of therapy, and you add $20 and they get to use the machine for 10 minutes. And, 5 of your patients a day start to do that. Hey, I want to do PEMF with this injection, or I'm doing an IV today. I'm going to add $20 and do the PEMF before to open up my cell membranes. Or I really want this injection to be super effective. So I want to do PEMF before, and they add $20. And really, the doctor just needs to say, we're going to do 10 minutes of PEMF before we do it, and then do the injection, and it's an extra 20. And the patient's like, okay. So it's not really, you have to sell it. You really need to tell the patient that that's what's best for them to make everything work properly. So 5 people a day do that. You get one person who says, you know what, I want to try a whole 20-minute session, and one person a week does that. And then you have one patient that gets really excited because they tried the $20 add-on, and they say, you know what, I want to buy 5 of these things, and full packages, and I'm going to schedule them out, or 6 of them, and they write you a check for $210. Say, hey, schedule me out for the next 2 weeks, okay, or the next 3 weeks, however long it takes. And then you get somebody once a week that says, you know what, I want 10 sessions. I have this thing in my back and this thing in my knee, and I have headaches, so I want to really do a whole month of sessions and really get my cell membrane potential right. And they buy 10 sessions. So one person a week does that. That's not a whole lot of pushing, and we have really great menus to show people so that they can choose one of these. You know, an extra $1,000 a week is an extra 50 grand a year. So an extra 50 grand a year, I mean, you may be able to hire somebody, you may be able to, you know, do improvements around the office, pay your people more, order supplies, whatever it is. But this is a cash revenue. This is something you get paid today. And I love showing the office managers, you know, this, when they're trying to get their budget for the year and they're like, how am I going to come up with an extra 50 grand a year? Well, here you go. PEMF is a great way to do that. And, you know, when you add a second machine, now this turns into, you know, 150,000 a year, because now you have more appointments, you have more times, you can do more people at a time. And the revenue can really go from there when you have a couple machines. So I have several doctors that have one machine, and a year later they're ordering their second one because they paid off their first one. And I had one doctor call me at 7:30 at night. He's like, hey, Andrew, I can't be staying till 7:30 at night because everybody wants to stay and do their PEMF. I'm swamped. Send another machine. So, you know, and now he gets to go home at 5 o'clock when he's supposed to instead of 7:30. So it's pretty, it turns into a really nice cash flow for a practice. And again, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a session, it's not a lot of money. That's cheaper than a massage, okay? In and out in, you know, 10, 20 minutes, not a big deal. So you can do a lot of those in a day. So this is just some of the marketing tools we have. On the left, it's a menu, just shows the prices. It says here, this is what it costs to do PEMF. When you first introduce it to them, say, hey, I'd really like to have PEMF in your regimen. I'm gonna let you try it. Let's try it for a few minutes. Let's see what it is. They sign a release form. We just want to make sure they don't have a pacemaker, any electronics implanted, hearing aids are taken out, things like that. And then they basically are checking the menu, and they check which one they want. And then they turn it into the staff up front and pay for the regimens that they want. Really easy, takes the selling out of the doctor, and the patient is up to date. They know what they're signing up for, and there's no surprise charges, anything like that. It's a real, just an easy flow for your staff to implement. Basically, here's a form, check the box and sign it and turn it in. It's real simple. So PEMF makes your cells perform better. That's the whole idea of PEMF. We don't treat or diagnose or you know, try to make any kind of claims that this is a cure for anything. This is basically making your cells perform better. If you want to Google some ailment in PEMF, feel free to do so. I'm sure there's a study on it somewhere. If you want to, if you have questions about your practice, maybe you focus on something and you want to send me an email saying, hey, I have a practice that I treat a lot of this, you know, help me implement this. Send me an email. I'd love to talk to you about that. But we're here for you. We're here to introduce the right equipment to you. Doctors out there have wasted so much money on PEMF devices that didn't work. And so by the time they get to me, they're like, oh my gosh, not another one. And, you know, another, you know, expense, you know, and it's not. If you look at the numbers, it's not an expense. It's actually a cash generator. You know, if you're losing money, you didn't implement it, or after we left training, you put it back in the box. So I've never had one of these things returned because they couldn't make money. You know, or someone said, hey, help me sell my unit because, you know, this isn't working in my practice. Usually it's, I'm so busy, I need another one, or hey, can I travel with this because I want to work on my family, they live in Texas, you know, how do I take it on an airplane? You know, so they're, you know, these doctors are taking them home on the weekends and sharing them with their own families. So it's pretty impressive. So if you need to order, please shoot an email or call. If you need to find a treatment location, maybe you're not interested in buying a machine, but you want to basically just see where you can go, shoot us an email where you live, and we'd be happy to send that back to you. If you just have some more questions, if you want those links to the books and to the research papers, or you want me to email you some files, send me an email. If you need financing or have questions about leasing, it's no problem. We'll send you an application. Usually we have approvals the next day. So definitely, we can definitely get that into a monthly payment for you, which is really manageable. If you feel like this is a great video that you just watched, please take note of the link, email it to your colleagues, to maybe even a patient that may be looking for something. We can sell these to individuals also, not just doctors. And you know, we do have a referral program. So, you know, if people are going to be referring people to me and say, hey, this guy wants to buy one, I'm definitely going to have a referral program for you so that you can get compensated for helping us out. And, you know, change your life, change your practice, change your health. You know, I did, you know, I look back to what I was doing before this. My life is a complete 180. And I know lots and lots of practices that are have really worked PEMF into everything that they do, and the patients are doing fantastic. So real quick, just going to go through a few slides and talk about the future of our company. And when you have room, you know, when you have this in your practice and you want to start doing some cool things, hopefully I'll be sharing some of your stories. But regeneration of when PEMF, there's, I don't know if you guys have ever read Dr. Becker's work and his work with silver and sending a charged silver ion to help regenerate, you know, limbs on mice and different things. I have doctors using silver ions in my PEMF in injections that are seeing phenomenal results. I go to the injection courses, I watch them, and I see people's knees get better. So, you know, if you're in the regeneration medicine, definitely look into PEMF. Shoot me an email. I can put you in touch with doctors that are doing stuff like this. The brain, okay? We have always just kind of been, yeah, let's work on the brain with the machine, and you know, people, we feel it and we feel a little better, but using certain software programs and partnering with doctors that have taken this equipment and really just taken it by the horns and played with it and worked around the brain with it, we are seeing phenomenal results around the brain. So if you are working with, you know, with brain issues or energy issues or you know, things to where it could be linked back to patients' brains, I can put you in touch with doctors that are working with our machine and the brain. And I tell you, it's just blowing me away every day when I see what you can do with the brain in our machine. Here's some thermographs of before and after. And you can see all the red is, you know, heat, inflammation in a thermographic camera. And you see just minutes after using our machine, inflammation seems to be calming down. And we know that inflammation is the culprit in most things. So people are taking the equipment they have and doing before and afters with our machine, and they're sending them to us. They're like, look what we're doing, look at this. So it's pretty exciting when we get the feedback from doctors that have this diagnostic equipment and send us back some results. Pretty exciting. This is a heart rate variability test before and after. I actually did this on myself at a conference, and I went up to a booth and I did it, the heart rate variability, and then a couple hours later I went back and I did it again, but I had done about 20 minutes of PEMF head to toe. And, you know, I wasn't feeling well that morning, and my health showed up on there like a big, like, I don't know, I can't read the numbers, 40%. It was horrible. I wasn't feeling well. I was a little sick. And I came back after lunch and my health jumped up to 52%. Now, you know, some of these biofeedback and heart rate variability things, sometimes people really use them as tools. Some people think that they're maybe not credible, but I have seen, you know, super sick people that I know take this exact HRV test and they score really low, you know, and they're you could tell they're sick. And then I see people who are like Olympic athletes that take this test, the same thing I did, and they score 99, 98, okay? And, you know, I'm like, wow, you know, this, maybe there is something to all this heart rate variability and biofeedback. And so if you can do before and afters in your practice with our machine, just imagine being able to show your patients a difference. This was just a matter of hours, and you can see the differences in the heart rate variability test. It's, you know, patients love seeing that stuff. So this is the future. You know, we do have a pretty, you know, powerful machine that does cost some money, and you know, it can be out of a lot of people's price ranges. Our manufacturer is working on some home use units. They're not quite done yet, but we are following them. I was at the manufacturer this week, and you know, I'm seeing everything come together. And so, you know, we're looking at getting you pretty good power devices for home use. You know, there's some. I have doctors that have patients that drive 100 miles to see them, and you know, they just can't not get to the office twice a week. So what better way to give a nice pulsing machine that's going to fire a nerve and fire muscle and do it safely at their own home, and you know, have a cost well under $10,000 is awesome. I've been wanting that for years, and our manufacturer is finally putting something out, and we're seeing it come hopefully very quickly. And just keep checking back with us, and if you're on our email list, we will let you know when the new equipment is here. You know, if you have low power devices that don't cost very much, well, you're probably not going to, you know, have people using the machines there for an hour in your office. Just too much time. But what if you can rent them out and make a rental revenue with them? Okay, what can you do with an extra 30 grand a year rental revenue? You know, you buy a few units and you rent them out to your patients. I mean, it could just be an extra $1,000 a week for your practice, or you know, more, depending on how many units you buy. So that's pretty exciting too. That you know, there's that revenue stream on these offices, on these home models. Okay, so we're thinking of you, doctors that really want to help people. You know, especially when they can't make it into the office, or they don't have the money to buy a big unit like the PMT 120. This is, I just got this message when was it? Friday last week, okay? I went to the manufacturer, and he had just opened the box and pulled it out and said, look, Andrew, this is what it's gonna look like. So this unit right here is still a ringer, okay? All these are ringer devices, not Hummer devices, ringers. That top right button does everything that IMRS, a Beamer, a Curatron, a Mass, all these other machines, that top right button does what they do with one button, okay? The buttons on the bottom are a little more specific. You can use them all together. You can use them individually. You can just do one at a time. It just depends on what you want. We're gonna have a great manual to go with this. But that little machine right there, I can save people considering buying a $5,000 or $6,000 device. I can save them a few $1,000s. That's probably going to retail around $2,500 or so. So, you know, we're pretty excited about the future, because before it was mainly just helping practitioners build their practices and help patients, and now we're able to have products that the practitioner can then refer their patient to buy, and then they make a little money. The patient works at home, and they're using ringer devices at home. They're not using the Hummers anymore that take so long to get any kind of results. They're actually using a ringer device in their home very affordably. And this, for 2,500 bucks, people put that on a credit card all day long and start getting results. And this one here even has a sleep mode. You can put it on at night while you're sleeping for 8 hours. I mean, it's phenomenal. So keep an eye on us. We will have a product for every income, for every patient or doctor, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And thanks for tuning in to our webinar. And please share it. And we love to work with you in the future. And please, if you have any emails, shoot them over now, and we'll get back to you right away. Thanks again. Have a great day. Okay, so real quick, just going to show you that this is something you can actually feel. Just going to give you a quick few minutes of how this actually affects the body: muscular, nervous, circulation, everything at the same time, and your patient actually feels it. Okay, so magnetic fields. I can feel this all the way in my fingertips, okay? No other machine can do this, and it feels fantastic. So keep learning, and we'll show you what this PEMF stuff can do for your body, okay? Thanks.